Blade Runner 2049 is directed by Denis Villeneuve and is easily one of my favorite films of the entire year and is absolutely worth watching. Before I get too much into what I like about 2049, I want to share a few brief thoughts on the original Blade Runner. And by the original, I mean the final cut because that's the only version that I have seen. The first time that I saw the first Blade Runner, I thought it was a good movie with some very bad pacing issues. After seeing it a second time, while I did like it more, I hesitate to call it great just because of a few things. I think it is an incredibly thought-provoking film, and nearly every single idea that is brought up is very interesting. However, the execution of some of these ideas, namely the romance between Deckard and Rachel, is not up to par with the concept. This is an awful romance, and while I like the idea behind it, it is executed in such a way that it seems like Deckard forces himself on Rachel, and then she falls in love with him? Again, it isn't done very well. The pacing is still something I have a problem with, but knowing where the film is going helps and allows the ideas to sink in a bit. I think there are some tonal inconsistencies near the end, with Roy becoming a horror movie villain. While I found this part to be more enjoyable, I still find it to be quite inconsistent with the overall tone of the film. And I personally think Harrison Ford doesn't give a particularly good performance, though it isn't necessarily bad. I think it's serviceable, but nothing more. I also think the action is a bit clumsy, even for the time, but that's more of a nitpick, and I only mention it because of how 2049 handles its action scenes. Overall, I really like the first Blade Runner and would definitely recommend that you should see it. I would probably give it a 15 out of 20. Now on to Blade Runner 2049. Not only is this film a near masterpiece, every single problem that I have with the original Blade Runner is improved upon. I'll start with the action because while there is very little action in comparison to the overall runtime, it was fantastic. It is exactly how action scenes should be made. Now, I don't want to say that the action is exciting because that's not the right word to describe it, but it is extraordinarily well done. The last action scene in particular is very intense and had me on the edge of my seat both times I saw the film. By no means would I consider Blade Runner 2049 to be an action film. Where this film shines is in its extremely interesting and compelling story. Now, I don't want to give any of it away because of how many twists and turns it has, but I found it to be very unique and very thoughtful. Being that it is extremely complex, don't worry if you watch it once and don't understand everything about it. I've seen it twice now, and I've spent several hours trying to figure out what everything means, and I'm nowhere near done. There's so much to unpack in nearly every aspect of the film. There are so many different recurring symbols and motifs that are going to take a lot of research to truly understand. In no way am I trying to steer people away from 2049 by saying I don't understand all of it. Just because I don't understand something doesn't mean I can't love it. Take, for example, The Shining or The End to No Country for Old Men. All of the performances in this film are fantastic. I have to say that I'm really impressed by Jared Leto because I have such a bad taste in my mouth after seeing him in Suicide Squad. However, I thought he did an excellent job in this film, and it reminded me of why I thought he was a good actor in the first place. Ryan Gosling, as always, is tremendous. There's one moment in particular where I thought he might be giving the best performance of his career. I won't go into detail because it's a huge spoiler for the film, but for those of you who have seen it, let's just say it was a moment involving a furnace. Speaking of maybe the best performance of his career, Harrison Ford is in this film too. He gives one of the best performances I've ever seen from him. Like I stated earlier, I didn't find his performance in the first Blade Runner to be particularly good, but in 2049 he is leaps and bounds better than he was in the original. And everyone else in the film does a great job as well. Now, by this point, I'm pretty sure you can get the idea that I love Blade Runner 2049, and hopefully all of you reading this will go to the theater and see it so it can start making some real money. Why would I need to continue? What else is there left for me to say? Well, I'd be damned if I didn't mention how breathtaking this film is to look at. Roger Deakins, the cinematographer, has knocked it out of the park and has helped make one of the greatest looking films of all time. You can pause the film at any moment and just stare in awe at how beautiful it looks. I mean, I included a trailer clip for you guys to see. Look at how amazing this looks. Pause it at some moment and just look at the framing and how excellent it is. It's just so good. And, I mean, my personal favorite part of how it looks is right here, where he's walking through what looks like a desert. I won't give away exactly the location because I thought it was a pretty cool reveal. And I just love the colors in it. It's so beautiful. One more quick thing. As I mentioned before, Blade Runner 2049 is directed by Denis Villeneuve, and this man continues to create some of the best films of the past few years. One thing that I have noticed is how Villeneuve is able to get the best out of everyone working for him. He takes a great screenplay and makes the absolute most out of it. He gets the best performance out of his actors, he produces the best looking film possible, with his previous two films being nominated for Best Cinematography, and there's no way 2049 won't follow that pattern. He's also very good at utilizing the musical score and knows when and when not to use it. And I found the music in this film to be far more effective than in the original. Denis Villeneuve is proving himself to be one of the absolute best directors working today, and every single project he works on, I'm there. I'm going to go see it. Blade Runner 2049 is fantastic, and I highly encourage everyone to go watch it. Even though some might find it to be a bit too long, I think the runtime is very justified, and it never feels like it slows down despite the film taking its time. I really don't see any reason you shouldn't watch this excellent film. I give Blade Runner 2049 a perfect 20 out of 20. Go and see it, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching as always. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next review coming out soon.